Solar update to the RV. What I've done is I put two plugs that run off of the inverter. One is inside, and that's what powers my desk, basically. The other one's outside, and its job was to run maybe something outside, right? I had this idea last night that I could just plug the trailer into that through the little converter that turns a 30 amp plug into a regular 110 plug. So the trailer is actually plugged into that plug out there. And when I initially plugged it in and I came in and checked the solar, it was like I had been keeping my eye on the solar all day since this morning, and it had been at 90%. And I thought it had charged up to 100%. Then I plugged in the trailer, came in, and bam, it was at 76%. And I was like, oh shit. But I didn't do anything. The voltage on my voltage meter was saying I was at 106. So I was starting to think, maybe I should go plug in my little booster box thing. I just kind of waited, and now it's up to 110 volts. The inverter is not making any noise, and it's not hot. I don't understand. I guess the trailer's not pulling that much because I turned off the furnace, so really, it's not really pulling that much. The only thing I had to do that was unplug the battery charger that charges when the batteries are plugged into shore power. So if I had left that plugged in, there would have been this awkward loop. This would have been trying to charge the batteries from the inverter, and the inverter is getting its battery power from the same batteries. So you don't want to do that. Luckily, when I wired it, I didn't hardwire it. I wired it into a plug. Well, it came with a plug, but I was thinking about chopping it and hardwiring it. But whew, I'm glad I didn't, because that would have made doing this a whole extra nightmare of wiring. Now what I can do with this setup is basically just kind of run this way, and then at night when the batteries start to, and just run like I want. When the batteries start to get low, go outside, unplug it from that plug, and then plug it into there. I was started to think, I'm like, how can I just wire this where I don't have to unplug stuff, where I can just go out there, start the generator. There might not be a way to do that just simply. I don't care. This is working good. So that problem is solved. Next problem, gray water. I have no problem distributing the gray water untreated into the plants and stuff like that. That's basically what a septic system does. So I'm going to set that up, and then I got to figure out how I am going to get water from that little black dot between the two trailers out there is my water. And some might say, well, why didn't you just park your trailer next to where your water was? That's a valid question. That is like the temporary staging area for stuff, and that area is going to become like the area where I screen dirt. So I have my sand, my loam, my rocks, and my freaking everything else just all separated. So that area over there where those trailers are. So I got to move all that stuff over here. I could literally move the water over here if I had another tank. And I would be like, oh, it'd be so much easier just to have another tank right over here. I put it there because at the time when I had that was all the open area I had. And I hadn't really done any planning or site planning. I knew I needed water. So I have water out here, so it's not the end of the world. I have another tank, my IBC, that I could fill in the back of the truck, drive over here, pump it in there. I can do whatever. I can do that right now. I mean, I have that capability. I'm trying to do a little more clever, like a little more clever would be a really long hose. And this is drinking water, so I'm gonna run it through filters before it gets in here. All that hose needs to be drinking water. That's a long way too. I couldn't even probably like 100 and something feet. So I think I have like probably about 50 feet of water hose. I'll just measure everything and probably just drive and get a water hose. That way I don't have to load that IBC up, because I have no idea how big the tank is in here. If I'm using that tank in a little over a day, like to be loading that tank into my truck and driving it and doing all that, it's like retarded. Putting a system in that I can just pump the water. I'll have the pump over here like outside, so all I have to do is just plug it in right into the power of the solar power, and then it'll pump, and I'll put a couple filters in line in that stage of it, so it's filtering the water, because all the water that's been put in that tank has been filtered through one of these little RV cartridges. So I have 2 of those new in the other trailer that I'm going to use to filter any water that I take from that tank and put in the trailer. And having that all just put together on a hose system to where I can just plug it in, screw hose, and then it just pumps the filtered water into the tank of the trailer. Wham, bam. Time is money. I can't really be spending like an hour every day or every other day, an hour like loading this IBC and filling it up and then moving it over here and then unfilling it. I mean, that's like generator over there, generator over here, where if I get a hose long enough, I can literally just power the pump from the solar power, and that's kind of my thing right now, though, is the water. The gray water is no big deal. I've already set that up before when I was, not really boondocking, but just basically camping in these people's driveway for a couple days when there was no other place and there was no power at this other place I was at. Oh, you probably might have seen the videos. They've been recovered. The gray water and that, and I'm just trying to get this, like, what do I need to actually hold up out here, Even if I have to buy 100-foot hose, that 100-foot hose, because you have to plug non-collapsible hose on the intake. 100 feet of non-collapsible hose is like freaking expensive. I can't just run a normal hose, like one of those normal drinking hoses. I could do it with the pump on that end. That's what I have to do. It's not as slick, but I literally can't put a hose. That pump pulls so hard that it'll collapse the hose, and then what? You got a collapsed hose. So I'm going to have to pump from the tank. I'm going to have to get another adapter for the other end of my pump, because I've just been throwing this hose in the top of the IBC and sucking it out. Yes, I could do that with this tank. It's such a pain in the ass to have shit just thrown in. Like if you screw something to something, like the chances of it unscrewing itself completely and spraying water everywhere are very low. So that would be a freaking slick setup. I'm going to have to use the generator for power, and then just a long run, which I don't know why on trailers they don't make a hose that you can literally screw to the intake of your freshwater tank, but it's just like, oh, just poke a hose in there. So that's what sucks. 150 feet-ish over that way when I turn the pump on, and then is the hose going to stay in the thing that I poke it in there? Maybe it's just going to go whoosh and just be doing spraying shit everywhere. So I might have to do some kind of something just to hold the hose in there so I don't have that problem. But other than that, these are the projects for today. Oh, that's my inverter. And when it just randomly decides to blow its fan, it has no rhyme or reason. Like, it's totally cool right now, and it's running its fan. And that's basically all it'll do. I don't like that inverter at all for that very reason. It overheats. So I'm just going to install a fan up there blowing on it constantly. And then it won't overheat. Blowing that way away from the batteries. Because when it finally kicks on its stupid fan, it's blowing... if it just blew its fan like all the time to keep itself cool, just like, just a normal nice little fan, the total temperature wouldn't get so hot because it would dissipate faster. And that's kind of how I thought the stupid thing would work, but it doesn't. So now the fact that I have it installed, pointing at the batteries, this battery gets that hot air. And so when it fails to cool itself off appropriately, it finally ends up starting blowing hot air, and it's blowing hot air right on that battery. Not good, not horrible. It's not like super hot air. It's freaking not ideal. So I'm actually going to put a 12-volt fan blowing across the other way just to keep that constantly cool. And it won't draw shit it'll just be a really low wattage, low volt, whatever fan, like a computer type thing, like 12 volt. It has to be 12 volt because I don't want to mess around with a freaking step down. So it's just going to be blowing this cool air all the time. Problem solved. I flew the drone this morning. I got a really good shot of the property and its progression right before the drone started freaking out and screaming, "Yeah, it's freaking windy. Land immediately. Land now. It's too windy." I'm like, oh shit. And somehow I freaking took off with an empty battery, basically. I didn't change it from the last time I flew. Like, oh man, what the heck. So I had to land it, switch batteries, and do it again. But that thing is such an amazing tool. Like, there is no other way just to get, you know, a fully just wham, you know, like, and then just be able to sit there and look at it and decide where stuff's gonna go, how stuff's gonna work, you know. I mean, the satellite isn't gonna give me my up-to-date what I've just done. All right, enough babbling. This is the system to get water to the trailer. Here's the water. Here. It's a lot of water. It's about 2,500 gallons. There's the trailer. Somewhere out there. I don't know. Can't really see. There's a trailer out there somewhere. These blue hose and several other hoses are connected. So now I'm going to flip the knob. Wow, cool. Water went all the way into there. That's convenient. Then I go over here, plug in my propane. I got a this thing's electric start doesn't work. That would be so much nicer than pulling this thing all the time, but I don't have time to mess with it right now. Zoom, zoom. All right, now gotta go down here. Here's the hose, it's all the way here. And no, this is not a permanent solution because it's gonna be winter. This is some months, but now I can move tanks if I need to. I have enough hose to move them. Oh, look, I got here just as the hose is starting to spray. I've got 3 filters. Right now I'm flushing these filters. Here's the hose. I have used every hose I have. This one I used to flush tanks, so I'm not really. But now I'm supposed to be using this water to wet down the front of the trailer. Not wet down the trailer, but might as well use this water that I'm filtering out of the system to knock down the dust in front of the trailer. So I'm stepping it and it just immediately goes poof. That should be a good enough flush. So I just want to turn this on, turn that off. Rinse that out a little bit. And put that in there. This tank is so weird. I filled it up the other day. Overfilled it when I pulled the hose out. It ran back out of there for like a long time. It was really weird how much water was, I don't know, compressed in there or something. I can't run that pump with nothing, with it just sealed off. So I have to have something open to run that pump or else it'll burn up the pump. Next project is the gray water after I fill this up. And this is probably going to be like literally a daily chore, filling up the tank. Because either I use a lot of water or these are small tanks. It's probably a little bit of both. Yeah, and then I wash dishes and cook. So, I mean, this isn't a full-time trailer and I'm using it as a full-time trailer. So, I'm glad the water is just right over there and not in town. I have to think about everything that humans need or humans want. I want water, I want warmth, so I gotta line all this stuff up and have everything. And that was one of the first things. I was like, water. I was like, get a couple of those tanks. And then I'm like, what? So I can fill up one tank with one tank. I'm like, I gotta have some water out there and I need to get it out there, max that thing out and not worry about water for a while. Now I've got to get down to the other end and turn off the pump. There's water in the trees with that water that it's kind of hard to get out of here. If I had a remote control. Yeah, there's really no remote control way to turn propane off. And we're good. Whew! Gotta pack the pump up. All right.